Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Mindy, this is See Mindy Mom, and today I'm super excited to be participating in another collab hosted by Kelly over at Freedom in a Budget. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of my favorite WW friendly recipes and meals, so stay tuned. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. If you are new here, I just want to let you know that I'm Mindy and I am wife to Daniel and I am mom to 3 children ages 9, 6, and 5, Ruthie, McKenna, and Brick. And this is a real life house with real life people living their real lives in it. All that's to say, sometimes there is a dryer going in the background, or sometimes Netflix is on in the next room, or sometimes there is a child coming in or out of the shot. I would love to say that someday I will be able to make super professional, polished, scripted videos, but let's face it, that's just probably not in the cards for me, at least not in the foreseeable future. I tend to keep things really casual and just sort of off the cuff. I want to say thank you to Kelly over at Freedom in a Budget for inviting me to be a part of this collab. I will have her channel linked in the description box below, along with all of the other channels that are participating in this collab, and there are a bunch, you guys, so there is a lot of information to be had on this topic. Be sure to check out those other channels and see what they come up with. I will also have any recipes or any descriptions of the recipes that I am talking about in my video linked in the description box. And I will also link a few of my playlists. I have a grocery haul and meal plan playlist, and I also have a what I eat in a day playlist. And I often share recipes and talk with you about what I am feeding my family and what I am eating while I have been on this plan. If you are not on WW Freestyle, no worries. I'm actually not in weight loss mode right now, and a lot of these are things that I like so much. They're things that I've continued to eat and to feed my family, even when we are not in a weight loss mode. So if you are not somebody who needs to lose weight, or if you are somebody who is just not really in that mindset right now, that's okay. These are still really great recipes and really delicious things to feed yourself and your family. First off, you guys, I want to share a recipe for my own personal, super simple salad dressing. It's a balsamic vinaigrette, and I like to make my own salad dressing at home because I'm not a huge fan of store-bought salad dressing, and I find that I can't really use up the bottle before it goes bad. So I just prefer to make a little bit of salad dressing at a time, and I can make as much or as little as I want using some ingredients that I typically always have on hand. I use an oil. I prefer olive oil. I use a vinegar. I prefer balsamic vinegar, and then I use Dijon mustard. Be sure not to leave this out because the Dijon mustard actually acts as the emulsifier, and so it allows the oil and the vinegar to stay mixed together and to not separate again. The ratios that I have used when I'm making just a single serving of this dressing, like for a side salad, would be a teaspoon of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of balsamic vinegar, and just a dash, like maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of the Dijon mustard. Obviously, you can make this to taste for you. If I'm doing a bigger salad, I would sometimes increase that olive oil to a tablespoon. 1 teaspoon of olive oil is 1 smart point, and a tablespoon of olive oil is 4 smart points. I happen to like balsamic vinegar. I think that you could change out the vinegars in this. You could probably even change out the oils as well. I know a lot of people like avocado oil, but the key is the Dijon mustard. So just make sure that you measure and track whatever oils you are using. Go ahead and scan those vinegars just in case, because I have found that if I use more than 2 teaspoons of some kinds of balsamic vinegar, it starts to count for points. Other vinegars, it does not. I have used apple cider vinegar before when I haven't had balsamic, and like that just fine. But the key is to use the Dijon mustard to keep the salad dressing together. Okay, you guys, the next thing I want to share with you is one of my favorite breakfasts. It is my own personal copycat version of my favorite breakfast sandwich from Starbucks. It is the turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. I never get the name right. It's either 5 or 6 smart points. I think it used to be 6 and now it's 5. But they're kind of expensive. I think they're almost $5 at Starbucks, and so I learned how to just make them at home and save the Starbucks ones for a treat or when I absolutely have to have something if I'm out and about and on the go. So what I use to make these is a 3 smart point English muffin. I like the Aldi brand English muffins. They're 3 smart points. I know that Thomas makes a light English muffin that is 3 smart points, and there might be some other brands out there. Just scan them. If you can't find a 3 smart point English muffin, I think a lot of them scan at around 4, so of course you could just adjust this if you needed to. I also use center cut bacon. You can use turkey bacon if you want, just scan it, but 1 slice of center cut bacon is typically 1 Smart Point. I use 1 Smart Point worth of cheese. I've used all different kinds on this sandwich. I've used the Jarlsberg light cheese from Trader Joe's, which is 1 Smart Point per slice. I've used the Kraft thin cuts. And lately I have been using a wedge of Laughing Cow for 1 Smart Point. And then I use a little egg patty. If I'm just making 1 little egg patty for my sandwich, I will use this little Sistema microwave egg cooker. I will link this in the description box if you're interested. It makes absolutely the perfect size for my sandwich. But I actually have made these in large batches before and then kept them in the refrigerator or the freezer. If I'm doing that, I will often take several eggs, crack them, beat them, put them into a glass casserole dish and bake them in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then I will just cut them out in circles. I may use the top of a glass and just make little circle cutouts of them so that they're the right size for my sandwiches. And then I can assemble my sandwiches. And if I can wrap them individually in plastic wrap, I usually store a few of them in the refrigerator and the rest of them in the freezer. And when I'm ready to eat them, I just take them out and wrap them in a damp paper towel, put them on a plate and put them in the microwave at 30-second increments until it is the temperature that I want. So that's how I make them in large batches. But since I got my Sistema egg cooker for the microwave, I have just been making them 1 at a time, and that works too. But it is way more cost efficient than buying them from Starbucks, and I find that it is a really satisfying breakfast. I tend to eat that whenever I know it's going to be a while before I'm going to have a chance to eat again, or on those mornings when I just wake up really, really hungry. It's one of my favorite meals at breakfast time. Next, I want to share with you a recipe that has become a big hit for me and with my family. It is a Mexican cauliflower rice. I have the recipe right here. See, it's even in one of my protective little sheets that goes in my recipe binder where only my best and favorite recipes go. The website this is from is jessicagavin.com, and I'm sure there are lots of other Mexican cauliflower rice recipes, but this one I really, really liked. You'll notice it says excellent. And the only difference for me is that I leave out the jalapenos so that it's a little bit less spicy. And instead of using ½ cup of diced tomatoes, I just use ½ cup of salsa because I don't want to open a can of tomatoes if I'm not going to use the whole can. Instead of making the riced cauliflower from a head of fresh cauliflower like it tells you to here, I just buy cauliflower already riced. This is from Trader Joe's. It comes in 1 pound bags. There are 4 1-pound bags of cauliflower rice in here. And so it's already riced and ready to go. I know that Aldi carries cauliflower rice now, so just take it easy on yourself and use that instead. How I like to eat this is lots of different ways. One of my favorite things to do with this is to make burrito bowls. And I will put some of the cauliflower rice on the bottom and then layer it with beans and veggies and maybe a little bit of cheese, especially that jar queso cheese that I like, and maybe some protein like a chicken or a taco meat. And top it off with a little bit of non-fat plain Greek yogurt or sour cream, and you have a delicious taco bowl meal. You could even crunch up a few chips to put on there. It's also really great on the side if you're having a Tex-Mex night, like if you made some enchiladas. I will even put this into one of my Tex-Mex flavor soups, like a taco soup or an enchilada soup. Lots of different ways that you can eat this. My kids like this. They did not even know that it wasn't rice until they saw me making it one day. And I know that my kids are really good vegetable eaters. I like my vegetables too, but this is a really great way to get some veggies in as well because, of course, it counts as veggies. It's cauliflower. And one of the great things about it is that the only thing that is worth points in this entire recipe is the olive oil. Oh, I also want to let you know that I cut this recipe in half because I feel like it makes a lot. The next recipe that I want to share with you is one that my family has been enjoying for a while now, and I even introduced this recipe to my parents, and they have been making this as well because they liked it so well. And it is a recipe for Italian beef. Essentially, it's a recipe for pot roast or chuck roast, and it does not involve a stick of butter. One of the difficult things I think with some of our favorite recipes is not that the main ingredient is so many points, it's that all the stuff to make it tasty add points. And we all have seen those recipes for, you know, like the Mississippi pot roast that uses butter or other recipes that add gravy or something to it. This is a delicious roast recipe. It comes out super tender and flavorful and juicy. It is made in the crock pot, but none of the ingredients in this add any points. And a roast, depending on the kind that you get, it can be anywhere from 3 to 6 points for 3 ounces, which really isn't that bad at all. And let's face it, we cannot live on chicken breast alone. I don't know about you guys, but even though chicken breast is 0 points on Freestyle, I still gotta have some beef in my life. So it's nice to be able to have a recipe like this, especially for that Sunday lunch or that nice dinner, or if you're entertaining company. Like I said, I've made this for people who are not trying to lose weight, who are not on any kind of a, diet or adopting any kind of a specific eating style, and they really like this recipe. It's always a hit. The key is the amount of time that you cook this for. You cook this for 16 to 20 hours in your crock pot. And I usually put mine in at night and then let it cook all the way overnight and into the next day. And that's how I get that a lot of time that it needs, but it makes all the difference. It just absolutely falls apart. It is fork tender, juicy, delicious. You gotta try it. It's so, so good. Oh, I forgot to mention, you guys, that Italian beef recipe I got from Skinny-ish Dish. It was formerly Daily Dose of Pepper, but that recipe is from Skinny-ish Dish. The last recipe I want to share with you is from Emily Bites. It's another great website to look for recipes. She often has the points for not only Freestyle and Smart Points, but for previous Weight Watchers programs if you're working those other programs. And this is a recipe that my kids really, really like. They request this often. And I was making this a lot when I was in weight loss mode because it was something that I liked, but that also my kids liked, that I could feed my family and not make a second meal. It is called Cheesy Taco Pasta. And I did make a few adjustments to this recipe. That's one of the great things, about cooking, is you can adjust it to your taste. I used 90-10 ground beef instead of 95% lean ground beef. I tend to use 90-10 whenever I'm using ground beef. I used half a cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt instead of the sour cream that it calls for. And instead of using 3/4 of a cup of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, I used 3 Laughing Cow Queso Fresco wedges. I feel like those are great things to throw into casseroles and into sauces because they give it so much flavor and kind of give it that cheesiness that we want, but without adding quite as many points. It still calls for a 2% reduced fat cheese as well, and I kept that in there. And then I just recalculated the points according to the adjustments that I was making with the recipe. But this is very easy. It's one of those meals that you could make really quickly, in about 30 minutes or so. You can make it a one-pot meal. I made mine serve 7, and it comes out to about 7 Smart Points per serving. I feel like, especially if you're on this program with young kids in your house, it's always good to discover some things that they will eat as well. And so this is a great one to have in your arsenal. And again, you can kind of adjust some of the ingredients and recalculate the points to suit your own personal taste. All right, that's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully that gives you some ideas and maybe some new things to try that will work for you and possibly for your family as well. Thanks again to Kelly over at Freedom in a Budget for hosting this collab, and also be sure to check out the other channels that are participating. They're linked in the description box below so you can get some more ideas for some yummy meals and recipes to try. I will also link as much information as I can about the recipes that I shared with you, as well as some of the playlists that have other recipes and other meal ideas that might help you on your path. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. I'd love it if you give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye.